And that is on me. I know people are watching. I know that they're paying attention. You know, I'm a veteran, I'm a minority, I'm a woman, and I know that that's being looked at. So I want to do that justice. So I'm pouring myself hardcore into this education. So if I were to say anything, that's definitely one that keeps me up at night. Just making sure that I'm honoring the gift of the scholarship, you know. The other thing, of course, is mom stuff. Like, my son just started college. He graduated high school when I graduated college, and now he's starting college while I start my MBA. So we're kind of running this parallel, you know, this journey together. And it's not necessarily a keep me up at night thing. It's more like I just want to do right by him in his college journey. You know, I want to make sure that whatever he needs, he gets it. You know, and he thinks I know everything about school because I just finished school. So I'm like, no, son, it's different. So that's something I'm dealing with. And then my 3 daughters, they all are now starting very different phases in their lives. I have one in elementary school, one in middle school, and one in high school. So, you know, that's challenging to have all 3 girls in different places, and then my son's in college. And as you mentioned before, I still have, you know, the responsibility of being a military spouse, and my husband is stationed at Southcom, and, you know, I'm very, very fortunate. We're not in a situation where he's gone all the time. He's home. He works and comes home every day. So that's great. That's amazing. But it's temporary because, you know, the military machine, it's always a looming thing. You know, when are the next set of orders coming? When's the next conflict going to hit? So I pay very close attention to what's going on in the world so that I'm not blindsided by anything ever with regard to that. Those are my big ones right now. With my company, it's an interesting thing being a CEO. You know, I am simultaneously the thing on which all success rests and the thing on which all failure rests. And there's a lot of freedom in that, believe it or not. There's a lot of, you know, it's stretchy. It changes form. It changes shape. It's very fluid in that way. So my business keeps me up at night in spats. It's, you know, I need to make sure that I get this thing done, or I need to make sure that this particular thing is taken care of, that I reach out to this person or whatever. But that's not as pervasive as my concerns for my family and my education, which is interesting now that you've told me to think about it. So yeah, I don't often have a whole lot of I'm staying up all night with my business. Honestly, with the business, you know, if you ask me what I want to be doing with my time, it's that. Like, I want to work. I love it. I love what I do. I'm obsessed with it. My friends have called me a workaholic, and they're not wrong, you know. So I force myself to spend time doing other things, you know, traveling, and I don't force myself to spend time with family. I just do that. But I travel and I take care of myself, and I do things for myself because my activity lately is working in my business. So yeah, so it's a few things, but mostly it's school for me, and then my kids and my husband is what keeps me up at night.
Yeah, and you mentioned as far as being a mill spouse, you know, and the things that are involved with that. Are there particular mill spouse resources that you've taken advantage of personally that you might, you know, for other people that are listening that maybe they are mill spouses as well, that might kind of help them?
I'm going to tell you the strongest military spouse resource in the entire world is other military spouses. I am so fortunate to know some of the most incredible military spouses. And I get to be part of different organizations. There's Mil Spouse Creative, there's the military influencers, there's, you know, there's just all these different groups that I get to call family in whatever way that they are family. If I have a problem as a military spouse, it doesn't matter if it has anything to do with the military. I have this network of people that I can reach out to pretty much anytime and say, hey, this is my issue. Can you help me? And everyone that I've ever reached out to who understands this life has been incredibly helpful and loving and giving. And so my thing with that is I try to do the same. I try to, any military spouse that needs assistance, anybody who's looking for work or needs help figuring out childcare, like, you put it to me. If I don't know, I will do what I can to find out, or I'll put you to the person who will. And it's just like that in the community now. Folks will have you believe, people who don't know us, who don't know this world, will have you believe that it's catty. And it can be. I mean, the military community is simply a microcosm of the world at large. You know, we're a small community within a community. But I haven't experienced lately any of the cattiness. You know, I'm very careful to select who I hang around and who I call friend. And the people that are in my circle are amazing people, and I rely on them for their wisdom and their experiences. So that's how I make it through as a military spouse. And I look for opportunities to, if you're a military spouse and you're listening to this, hang out with other military spouses. Like, find people that are your tribe and get around them and spend time with them. You'll be shocked and amazed at how therapeutic that can be if you're kind of living in your island and you're running your household and taking care of your family or doing what you're doing, going to work, running your business, whatever you're doing. It just is, it's such a refreshing thing to be around people who just get it, who just understand. So that's my strongest point.
Yeah, psychologically, if you feel alone, then I can't think of anything worse than feeling like you're the only person going through something. And so, being able to surround yourself with other people that are going through the same thing, it is, it's very liberating and very enlightening, and very, it takes a lot of that burden off of you when you realize, I'm not the only one going through this.
Right.
There's nothing new that I'm going through that somebody else is not going through or has gone through before. And it makes it a lot easier, to deal with those obstacles.
It really does. It really does. And I love too when the military community is forced to come together for anything. Like, when I say forced, I don't mean like mandatory fun. I mean, like, whenever we're all in the same place, or when you're traveling and you share with someone that you're part of the military community, in whatever way you are, if you're a spouse, if you're a veteran yourself, if you're whatever, it tends to be pretty welcoming, all things considered. There's issues, of course, but the biggest resource I would say is other people who are going through what you go through. And if you can't find them, I'm just going to say, look, go on Facebook and type in the search bar, military spouse group, veteran group, what are you into? Because there's probably a group in the military community that focuses on that thing. There's groups for people who are in entrepreneurship. There's groups for people who are into mindfulness, meditation, rebuilding motorcycle, like anything you could think of in the military community, there's a group for that. And it doesn't matter if you're a military spouse or a veteran, those things exist and you just got to find it. I'm also an advocate for, battle buddy checks, making sure that people are doing well and that they're okay, and checking in. Because as we both know, the suicide rate is far too high amongst military members. And, so I would say another resource is just, yes, take your own needs into consideration, but also reach out and see how your friends and family are doing from the military community as well.
Yeah, good point. Thanks for bringing that up, because that is an epidemic that hopefully we can get rid of. And each one is one too many, and so we have to take it upon ourselves to check on our buddies and make sure that they're all right. Yeah. So as far as planning and strategies, do you believe that that's something that's important that people do? Obviously on a business level, but also even on a personal level, to create personal strategies for themselves.
Yeah, I think strategy is good in a general sense. What I have advised friends, family, clients, anyone who will listen to my limited wisdom on the subject is I'm a big fan of setting a goal, a specific thing that I want to accomplish, and then figuring out how to get to that goal, but understanding that the plan that I come up with may not be how I get there. The goal itself if it's a true goal, like for example, a goal of mine was finishing undergrad, and it took me 10 years to finish my degree. I started it when I was still active duty. I think I started classes maybe 2008. I don't know. It's been a long time, but started classes, was going to school, doing my thing. And then I ended up needing to leave school because of my husband's deployment. And then I was on shift work and we had kids and, it was very challenging. So then I picked it up again, when we moved to Maryland, and I was stationed, he was stationed at Fort Meade. I was stationed at Andrews Air Force Base when I was in the Air Force. And, I started going back to school. And, it's just like, if you had asked me when I first signed up for school in 2008 or whatever, if it would have taken me 10 years and 3 states to finish a bachelor's degree, I would have been like, no, I'll be done in a year or 2 or whatever, and it super wasn't like that at all. So the goal was the same, finish undergrad. Mm-hmm. How I got there changed significantly over the course of a decade. But I'm grateful for the goal because the path was what the path needed to be. So I'd say definitely plan, be strategic in how you live your life. Just know that even the best laid plans, there's all these famous sayings. I think it was John Lennon who said, life is what happens to you when you're busy making other plans. So I kind of live by that, and yeah, that's my strategy, if you will.
Yeah. And you pointed out a very, very important aspect of that is, when you put the plans together, it is very important to have that. And it's also going to be flexible. It has to be flexible. You can't set up some sort of planning and had that be very rigid, because it's just like there's I believe that there's a Chinese proverb or something that mentions about the strongest trees and the weakest trees.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a call. I'm trying to end it.
That's fine.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Easy edit.
Okay. Please continue. I apologize.
That's fine. But I like that you were mentioning as far as the planning and to have it be flexible, because there's a saying in the Chinese proverb, I believe it is, that there was comparing the oak to the willow and which one is the stronger of the two, because the oak tree is very rigid and it's very strong, but when hard winds blow, it tends to break. But the willow tree is actually the stronger of the two, because it's able to bend when the storms come, and it's able to avoid that tragic outbreak. And so that's how good plans should be, is to be flexible. And there's going to be bumps in the road, there's going to be potholes, and sometimes there's going to be cliffs that we come up against, and we have to be able to avoid those things. And just because you had that plan doesn't mean that you have to not avoid detours, because sometimes those detours happen, and it's all part of the plan. So you have to allow for that.
Yeah, 100%.
So just from your experience, having your business and then seeing other businesses around you, what do you think are maybe some of the reasons that entrepreneurs are failing or giving up?
It's hard. I mean, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. It looks pretty, it's shiny and glossy in some ways, but it is hard work, and people tend to quit when things are hard. I just had a conversation this weekend with a gentleman, and we were discussing how, specifically in the military community, quitting isn't really an option for us. I mean, right. The professions that we choose in the military, no matter where you fall on the spectrum, whether you were special operations or you were a pilot or you were, administrative or whatever, there's a thing that's drilled into all of us in basic training, and that is never quit, right? Mm-hmm. And while life tends to throw, talking about flexibility, life throws things at you